And so 16 of us headed off on a ferry to France for a day. We said, okay, we would go for a day. It was kind of a booze cruise kind of a thing. And we arrived in France, and I'd never been abroad. And I said, let's go to Paris for the day. Everybody with me? And everybody was like, no. So I went to Paris on my own and ended up staying for 5 months. I thought, okay, well, I'll go and see a couple of the sites, and then I'll go back on the train and get back on the ferry and go home. So I went to the Eiffel Tower, and I was walking around, and I was about to jump back on the train to go home. And somebody went, Chris! And it was a girl that I knew from home who had been on some exchange program. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm about to go home as well, but let's go out tonight. And so we went out that night, and we went into this cocktail bar on the Champs-Élysées, and it was the wildest place I've ever seen. I was quite green, I think, and so I asked them for a job, and they kind of panned me off and said, no, you can't have no, we don't need anybody. And I was like, but I'm really good at cocktails. Was not so much the case. And they said, well, come in for an interview tomorrow. And so I said, okay. I went in, and the guy didn't turn up. And I went over, and I was like, was Marco here? And this lady was like, no, I'm the day manager. Marco doesn't work during the day. And I was like, what a dick. And she said, why are you here? And I said, I'm supposed to start work today. And she said, oh, God, why he never tells me anything? And so she gave me a T-shirt, and I got behind the bar. And then that night, Marco comes in. He's like, what the hell are you doing behind the bar? And I was like, well, I did the interview with Annalise. That was crazy. That's the kind of stuff you do when you're 19.
I know when you're 19, gosh.
Yeah.